This is another story that started in Galini on Crete. My friend was running a bar called Incognito, and I was sitting there, our usual fortnight holiday, showing him pictures of my paintings, or recent paintings in the last year. And someone else was looking over our shoulders, and he said, "Oh, do you mind if I look as well?" And I said, "Of course, carry on." And he said, "Do you sell any?" And I said, "No, not very many." And he said, "Oh, I'll find you a gallery." And that was the end of that. And we thought, oh, typical Hollywood holiday talk. Anyway, 3 years later, there was a phone call from Germany, and they said, "Oh, hello, this is Eric here." And I couldn't think who the hell it was. But when he said, "Oh, I found you a gallery in Nuremberg," and I thought, "Oh dear, I don't know how to handle this." Anyway, he said, "I got some instructions for you. The gallery's owner's name is Gunther, and he arranged a date and flew over to England and walked around the house and the studio and said, this one, that one, that one, this one, that one, and gave me the dates of the exhibition. He said, "Oh, you will bring them over for this date." 2-3, as he sounded very abrupt. He turned out to be one of the kindest men nicest men you could ever meet. And anyway, we got the paintings together, and Colin Dale's, the painter and framer friend of mine, loaded a van up, his van, I believe, and we drove to Germany. It took us 1.5 days, I think, to get there. And we met Gunther and his wife, and he had lots of people living in his home, and he was running a charity, and he'd have about 10 or 12 students at the same time doing business studies. Anyway, he took us to the gallery, and it was absolutely fabulous. It was a building that was one of the few that survived the war, and the gallery part was in what would have been a basement, which was on the surface now, and it was the Lammsgasse, the street it was in, was just off the main square from the great cathedral, fantastic cathedral in Nuremberg. And on this painting of the man with the leg, you can see an arch in the background, so the arches were holding up the building, and what Gunther had done, and that's Gunther in the glasses, and what he had done, all these arches, not all of them, but most of the arches, he'd filled up with plaster. So we had an arch, one painting or two paintings, and then another arch, another painting, two paintings, and it was the most fabulous gallery, as the paintings will show. That painting there, it's not been put up yet, behind the ladder. That was one of the Q series. That was the main painting I did from the Q series, which is a monument to those people who are in queues or being led to their deaths or whatever. Here's the Enniskillen paintings, just resting somewhere around the gallery before we decide. This is a period where we're deciding where to put the galleries. If you notice, there's a nice table there. The second room he showed us was a white fridge, and it was full of the best German wine. It was beautiful, and we drank it like water, even Colin. There's my cricket painting, and the painting towards the right-hand corner there is the one that sold at the exhibition opening. We spent a couple of days, I say a couple of days, a bit more setting up the exhibition, and in the meantime, Gunther would say, "Now, lunch." And we said, "Yes, Gunther." And he'd then take us outside. And I remember the first lunch, we went and had, what do you call those steaks with breadcrumbs around them? Anyway, you know what I mean, and the salad. And the building was from 1450. And even the ceiling was low for me. It was very dark inside, looking out on the square. And Colin and I were looking at each other. We just sort of hadn't had food like this. It was absolutely fabulous. Another day, we said, "Right, that's enough for today. We'll go out." And we sat outside. This is March, outside in the sunshine, comfortably warm enough. And he said, "Oh, it's the sausage season. You will have sausages." And there's about 6 of us round the table, and he says, "How many sausages do you want?" And somebody said 12, and I didn't know what to say, so I said 6. He said, "No, you will have 13." "Yes, Gunter," I said. Anyway, 13 sausages turn up on my plate, all arranged on sauerkraut, and these sausages were quite small, little peppery sausages. They were all different sorts on the table. "Gunter, why did we have 13? He says, "Well, it's good manners to give one of your sausages to someone else." And it was just fabulous. And we were eating the sausages in front of the gates of one of the castles. There are 3 castles in Nuremberg. I can't remember it was the Stadler or the other one, but you know the pencils we all use in this country are all made by the factories there of these 3 castles, the Stadler and whatever the pencil's name is. And in front of the gates there's a cobbled road slanting down, and this was like 5, 6 in the evening, and all these students start turning up. And, you know, there was sort of seen like 100 after 10 minutes. After half an hour, there's over 1,000, all sitting round, drinking beer, playing guitars, just chatting in the sunshine. And it must have been well over 1,000. And about 7 o'clock, they all get up and go home. And can you imagine that in England? There was not one scrap of litter or a bottle lying anywhere. We were very impressed. The other places that Gunter took us was to the big stadium where Herr Hitler did his speeches, and I'm walking down the steps in one photograph where Hitler actually walked down to the railings to give his speech. The only change they've made is when you look at the whole building, the 2 eagles have been taken down either side of the stage area, down where cars are parked at the front. That's where the troops, 30 abreast, would march up and down. And there's football pitches and everything like that in the middle of it. No one seems to know what to do with it, and the grass is slowly growing through. It's almost like nature is taking it back itself. But it was a most weird feeling to stand in that same place. Gunter had done the gallery up really beautifully, and there was a courtyard for people, when you'd finished looking around the paintings, you can go out and sit and drink glasses of wine. It was absolutely magnificent. I can't praise it enough. And we were so shocked because Colin and I, we just didn't know what to expect. It was such a pleasant surprise. There's the quad of the gallery. And that's the main square and the magnificent cathedral. Another interesting thing that Gunter showed us, he took us to a little museum place, because obviously most of Nuremberg was flattened during the war, and he showed us these models of before and after. And on the walls there were silhouettes of the city. So the architects had to rebuild these buildings as new, and what they've done is kept the old silhouette of the roofs, except the buildings are brand new underneath. So you see a silhouette of the city before the war, and the silhouette after the war are not far off the same. The other thing that was rescued in the war was that a lot of buildings had these German sculptures or saints, or a bit like our figureheads on ships, but they're on the corners of buildings, and many were taken down before and during the war, and luckily were spared, and they're going back into their places. Nuremberg is just a very beautiful city, and on this photograph here, Gunter made the joke. He said, "Oh, this is we have our own central heating here now." And of course I said, "Oh, do you really?" He said, "Oh, yes." Anyway, it's for bicycles. He said it was great. He would always take the piss out of us, like, "See, we have much better central heating than you have." We go, "Oh, yes." it came to the time where all the pictures were hanging, and we had Gunter was holding a list of the paintings, and they're all numbered. He says, now we have the difficult part. We have to put prices on them. I think it'll be better if we do it in lira. And I looked at Colin and I thought, what the hell is he talking about? It was then we realised, he was taking the mick all the time. Put the paintings worth in lira. He was always playing jokes on us. And on the last day, I said to Colin, I'm going to have it. We will have to play a joke on him just to get him back. And so Colin arranged to back me up whatever I said. And during the morning, I said to Gunter, I think, well, we've got to go back tomorrow, but we're going to leave the van here. We don't want it anymore. You can't do that, he said. You can't do that. Yes. We don't want to drive all that way. It's too far. We're going to go on an airplane. We booked some tickets. Where? Where have you booked tickets? He said. We booked it with Lufthansa. Go straight back to London. You can't do that. Why are you going Lufthansa? I said to him, well, the pilots know where to go.